Hey, I'm Adam Moody. Just got done reading Building a Story Brand. This book was written by Donald Miller, and I'm happy to say I've got this book on a recommendation from a great copywriter friend of mine. Shout out to Adam Bensman with Brain Hickey. If you're looking for a good great copywriter, go talk to Adam at Brain Hickey. But anyways, he had talked about reading this book while on vacation and recommended it. He knows that I do a little bit of copywriting on my own, that I'm interested in learning more about this and how to speak as a brand and kind of with that voice. And so this was really interesting. I thought that I would get through it. Didn't have a lot of expectations for it, and I'm glad that I just kind of went into it with an open mind. But I'm going to share it with you so you can go into it with some expectations or see if this is going to be a book that you want to read. So real quick, I liked the general overview, I guess, of this is I liked it very well laid out. It's very simple, easy to read, and just basically talks about literally what the title implies, building a story brand. Basing your brand on a story that your customers want to hear and that will draw customers towards you. And then within that, really making your story customer based. Okay, it's not the story of 25 years ago we were founded and we. It's about your customer and what is the story that involves your customer with your brand that then leads them to do that. So I think that literally just going down real quick and talking through the way they laid out the book is pretty good. So section 1, why most marketing is a money pit. So that makes sense. To start out the book, they're talking about why a lot of this marketing doesn't work and why you should probably be reading their book, a little bit of indoctrination. But then they obviously transition into the secret weapon, which is the story brand framework, and then talking about building that. And this will sound familiar to anyone, and I think they've put their own little twist on it, but I still think it's a really good framework to get your mind around. I've heard a lot of similar concepts from people like Russell Brunson, but they talk through building your story brand. A character has a problem and meets a guide who gives them a plan and calls them to action that helps them avoid failure and ends in success. So that's a story, right? That's a big story arc if you've watched movies, hopefully, and paid attention or read some books, but also just about branding and interacting with people, telling people a story. And again, a story meaning telling them a story that involves them and arouses emotion and desire in them, not telling them a lie or something fictitious. And then it goes on to talk about implementing the story brand, because throughout the book they have sections at the end where they tell you, okay, here's what you should do at the end of this chapter. We're talking about, in the very first section here, a character. Here's how you should develop this. Write out, brainstorm, get down your character, go on to the problem, and meets a guide, all this stuff throughout the book. And I believe they have links at the end. I just can't recall right now that, of course, I'm filming that, but I'm sure there's links with the resources in each chapter. And once you've got that all together, they have the third section, which is implementing the story brand and using it primarily to create a better website, which is good. I really like that section, how they talked about how a lot of websites use that, like, we've been in business for 25 years, us. And, saying your story should be immediately evident above the fold and have a clear call to action. And some really actionable good stuff is a good reminder of, what a landing page or a website should be. And then using it also to transform company culture, which I think is a good thing. And this kind of ties in with some other books I've read, like Traction, and these other more business-oriented or business goal-oriented books. So I think that all of that put together, it just kind of reinforces those concepts. So I would highly suggest anyone to read this who has their own business, who's building a business, who wants to build a business, who's copywriting. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people who should be, reading this, even if you're like a podcaster, if you run a YouTube channel, whatever it is. And it's about, to me, it kind of ties into that idea of creating a culture around your business and finding your people and who you want to talk to and draw those people in, and how you can tell it with stories. And I truly do believe that stories are a really strong, powerful method. Seeing people speak in person, like Russell Brunson, and I'll go back to him. He says sometimes you'll see him and he'll say, count how many stories, or try to count how many stories I tell while I'm talking to you. And, you won't actually lose track, but it's crazy, and it works because the human brain is just wired that way to really respond strongly and positively to stories. So highly recommend this book. It was a great read. Got through it fairly quickly, and highly recommend it to anyone, like I said, who's interested in finding out more about how to give voice to their brand. and how to have even more importantly, or just as importantly, have a framework to do that repeatedly and to really dig into it.